Very good, Mike.
I want to thank everybody here for taking time to come down here on this important day and such short notice. We have some great guests with us today, some great allies. I want to thank Barbara Gonzalez and the Bayshore Tea Party. Their great work. We have the West Bergen County Tea Party, Joel and Susan Wynn and their crowd. We have Americans for Liberty, Debbie DeLuca and her team all the way up in Sussex. And just a whole bunch of other good patriotic Americans. Any other groups that in?
East Jersey.
East Jersey. Thank you, guys. Yes, I said Sussex. I knew I'd leave somebody out.
I'll tell you who you left out. The leadership from New Jersey Tea Party Caucus. And they will be printing the stories this evening.
And the leadership from the New Jersey Tea Party who will print the story in a video. And
very good.
All right. And Assemblyman Michael Patrick Carroll, who came all the way down from Morris County, who's co-sponsor of a bill introduced yesterday to end subsidies for offshore windmills. That's why it's important that we're here to support legislators like Michael Carroll and the other co-sponsors on that bill. While we're here today, I think, whoa, quite a few of us, a couple of dozen pro-offshore windmill people are down the beach flying kites. Wow, I'm impressed. Let me talk about what today's about. Today is Global Wind Day, folks. Global Wind Day is the kickoff global celebration of the launch of the UN Agenda 21 Rio Plus 20 conference that starts today in Rio de Janeiro. It starts today with a 3-day, what they call the Diplomat Bash. That's where diplomats from countries around the world come together and party and think about the day that they're going to succeed in undermining America's prosperity and redistributing our wealth through their left-wing, liberal, radical environmental agenda and their sustained community promises.
No way! Really? It's happening!
It's real, and it is happening right now, and you're seeing it. Maybe it's only 20 kites, but events like this are taking part across Greece right now, across Spain, across France, across Ireland, across Denmark, across Europe, and across Asian countries, and now they're on the shores of the United States. They've come here. They've come here with their agenda to force our state to pour billions of dollars into failed alternative energy programs that will result in undermining our economic freedom and in the future of this nation. This is a real challenge, folks, so I'm so happy you're here today to show our strength in numbers and our willingness to speak out against the feel-good politics and the liberal media support of this total nonsense. Tell you a little bit why it's so important and what their failed agenda has already done to our state. You know, 1776, through the Industrial Revolution, our state, the state of New Jersey, led this nation in economic growth. We were one of the leading agricultural states in the nation. We led the country in agricultural production. This was a great state to live. Then came the Industrial Revolution. And once again, the new state of New Jersey led the nation, and in many ways led the world, in the transition from an agricultural state to an industrial economy, with our manufacturing powerhouses, Patterson and Camden and Newark and Trenton and all those urban centers that were models for the rest of the world, because we offered a stable tax base, the rule of law, property rights, and low-cost energy. Well, things started to change, folks. You know, if you go back, for many of us, when we were younger, and maybe some of us were right down here at the Stone Pony, just behind us and up the boardwalk, right?
Yes.
Back in the 1970s, you know, 1940s, 1950s, 1960s, Asbury Park was a phenomenal shorefront community. And it is making a comeback, we hope. But you know, something started to change. You know, do you know that the state of New Jersey in 1960 led the nation in every area of economic growth? We led the nation in GDP growth. That's gross state product. We led the nation in wage growth. We led the nation in job growth. This was the #1 state in the country to start a business, to raise a family, and to build a future. And then came the era of the Great Society and big government, and government intervention, and high taxes. The introduction in 1976, the same year, by the way, that Linda Ronstadt was playing at the Stone Pony, the state passed its state income tax. That was basically a flat tax. 10 years before that, they gave us a sales tax. Now, when they gave us the sales tax, they said that was going to cut property taxes. Then they gave us an income tax, and they said that was going to cut property taxes. Well, now it's 40 years later, and we have the 3rd highest sales tax in the nation, the worst and most progressive income tax in the country. We have the highest property taxes in America. New Jersey today is one of 7 states with declining gross domestic product, with a declining economy. We're in recession. There are only 2 states worse off than us, Mississippi and Alabama. Wow. We have a 9.2% unemployment rate, higher than the national average, and the worst in the Northeast. We have a record number of people moving out of our state. More than any other state in the country, people are leaving New Jersey. We are rated the worst state to start a business and the 3rd worst state overall for business growth. So how did we get to that point? It wasn't because of us, not we the people. It's because of failed government policy. Failed government policy. And if you want to see a model for failed government policy, you want to see the epitome, the crown jewel and the crown of ridiculous government intervention, think of taking $100 million of your money and subsidizing windmills off the Jersey Shore. Because that's what they're doing. And those people down the beach, they want more money. $100 million isn't enough. They're not happy that we have the 3rd highest electricity rates in the nation, that we lost 1,200 manufacturing jobs in the last year, that we lost 5,000 financial sector jobs. They don't care about that. They just want to drive electricity rates even higher. Like Obama said, for his plan of cap and trade, electricity rates must skyrocket, and that's what they're flying kites for. They want our electricity rates to skyrocket like their kites are flying up in the sky. Well, guess what? Kites don't heat houses, folks. Kites don't heat houses. Kites don't generate electricity, and running down the beach flying a kite is not going to bring jobs back to the state of New Jersey. The fact is, we know for a fact that offshore wind is the most expensive form of alternative energy on the planet. The most expensive. 6 times the cost.
What's that? I'm trying to film it. Look. Let me get out of the way.
Gotta love it, right? Guess what? That banner can only be pulled by a gas fuel-powered plane. Not by wind, but by good old-fashioned fossil fuels. Hey, sorry, kite flyers, don't mean to upset you. We don't want to hurt your self-esteem. But our gas-powered engines are more powerful than any kite you can fly. Folks, there is a massive amount of natural gas right under our feet in New Jersey and Pennsylvania, New York. We need to get that gas out of the ground and turn it into jobs and turn it into prosperity. We need to build power plants in this state, not fly kites. We need to cut taxes, not fly kites. We need real private sector jobs. We don't need government workers flying kites. You know, with you guys here today, I am confident, although things look bad, I am confident that we can turn this state around. That we can once again make places like Asbury Park dynamic and energetic places to live and to build a business. Now, President Obama said that the private sector is doing just fine.
Where?
Why don't we ask the people up and down this boardwalk how they're doing? Most of them are closed for the day anyway. But anyway, it's great that you're here. We need to get our message out. You saw our talking points. Each of your teams can be extremely effective at influencing your legislators. And speaking of legislators, it's my honor to introduce a gentleman who has always ranked at the top of our AFP taxpayer scorecard year after year, has always stood up for conservative principles, has always stood up even against what we thought would be popular opinion, Assemblyman Michael Carroll.
Late. I got behind a car with a Code Pink sticker on it. Creeping along in the left lane. Now, Steve, he cited a bunch of the countries where they're doing kite flying. Greece is one of them. I'd like to shout the hell with the mic. Steve cited Greece as one of the countries which is flying kites today, and it strikes me that that is exactly the kind of example that these characters want us to emulate. Steve also mentioned that Obama thinks the private sector is doing fine. I would hope that you would all join me in sending him to the private sector come November. Now, perhaps you'll remember New Jersey's ill-fated and ridiculously expensive boondoggle known as RGGI, or the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. The idea was, what amounts to, place a user tax on electricity borne by the consumer and the taxpayer, and use the funds to subsidize so-called green energy. Now, RGGI operates behind a veil of secrecy. We make some assessments based upon the statements of its advocates as to how effective it's been. Governor O'Malley of Maryland, in the context of praising RGGI, bragged that the programs funded by Maryland's money received from RGGI reduced greenhouse gases by the equivalent of getting 3,500 cars off the road. Sounds impressive, right? Do the math. According to Maryland Clean Energy, Maryland has received $147 million from RGGI since its inception. That works out to $42,000 for every car taken off the road. Is there anyone who believes that spending $42,000 to get one car off the road makes the slightest amount of sense? No. Now, according to the handouts that we received from the so-called environmental groups here in New Jersey's figures were even worse. It amounts to about $47,000 per car. Now, if the self-appointed guardians of our planet come together to celebrate Global Wind Day, painting rosy pictures of the benefits of wind power, while either obfuscating the costs or telling outright lies, there is one simple, undeniable fact of wind power. Absent unaffordable taxpayer or ratepayer subsidies, no sane person would ever consider building such a project. Now, you heard Steve talk about our electric rates. Let me give you some figures. New Jersey electric rates at $16.55 per kilowatt hour are already amongst the highest in the nation. Only Alaska, Hawaii, Connecticut, and New York are higher. Pennsylvania rates are 25% lower. Couple that with substantially lower tax rates, and it doesn't, especially on those horrible, evil, nasty, greedy, rich folks, it's no surprise that along the border with New Jersey, Pennsylvania is booming while we suffer. If we build this project, it will increase our costs even further, and we will all suffer more. Still, we can agree, I think, that if we got some concrete benefits for such a program, let's say less domestic dependence on foreign oil, or a measurable, substantial benefit to the environment, the costs might be worth it. But that is simply not the case. Nationwide, the costs of securing 20% of our power from wind would cost $850 billion. And if we spent all that money, it would result in a measly 2% reduction in global carbon dioxide. Now, even if you buy the climate change hysteria, or even if you believe that prudence compels us to be careful about such things, spending $850 billion for such an infinitesimal benefit makes no sense whatsoever. New Jersey already suffers amongst the highest unemployment rates in the country. Estimates that the higher cost associated with expensive wind energy will cost thousands of jobs statewide and much as $1/3 billion in disposable income. So we have an almost perfect storm of governmental incompetence. Higher electric rates, more unemployment, depressed income, and essentially no measurable environmental benefit. It makes absolutely no sense to spend taxpayer or ratepayer funds on such a project. That's on applause lines. I have to tell these people to cheer. Now, if some private enterprise, let's say Boone Pickens, for example, wishes to invest in such a project, I say great. I would strongly urge the governor to help him expedite the environmental processes necessary to let him build it. And if it competes in the marketplace, I say hurrah! It's always great to see private enterprise succeed. If the lefties are right that the costs of wind power are coming down, the investors will make a fortune outcompeting other sources of power, and all New Jersey residents will benefit. I say God bless. But the very fact that these folks approach the taxpayers with their handout leads me to believe that there is nothing more than the wind equivalent of Solyndra, a politically incorrect investment which no sane investor would ever make, but which politicians make with other people's money, sticking the taxpayers with the bill. So here's where I stand, ladies and gentlemen. Not one nickel of taxpayer support for this project. Not a single dime in higher electricity rates. If private companies think they can make money and produce power at competitive rates, fantastic. But my guess is that the chances of that happening are about the same as those kites replacing 787s. We should not be wasting such taxpayer money on such projects. I oppose it, and I thank you all for coming.
Thank you, Assemblyman. Once again, thank you, Mike. Always good on every issue. 99.9%. We're working on that other 0.1% with them every day. Assemblyman Allison McCose, who co-sponsored this bill, could not be here today, but she asked Rick Miner, who's been a long-time AFP activist, Sussex County Tea Party guy, to join us today and to make a statement on her behalf. But before I do that, I just want to recognize Denise Lucatardo and her children. Yes. It's so great to have kids like this with us today, right? You know, that's the future of our country right there, guys. That's the future of our country right there. That's what we're fighting for. And if you watch the Global Wind Day website, you read it, Siemens, that massive European corporation, General Electric, you may have heard of them, they're an American company, are the manufacturers of the windmills, and they stand to make an enormous profit off of our taxpayer subsidies. They're the ones funding Global Wind Day. They're the powers behind this. But you know what? We're not afraid to take them on. But part of their program, ladies and gentlemen, has been an unabashed indoctrination of innocent kids. With coloring books and programs in nursery schools around Europe and in this country, they use, in essence, fear tactics about the future of this globe to persuade children that they ought to be indoctrinated into this whole global Wind Day nonsense, including ridiculous coloring books. You can see it all on our website and on their website, where children are told, well, make sure you color in the smoke coming out of the smokestacks of the power plants black. I don't know, I haven't seen any black smoke coming out of those power plants, but especially in nuclear plants or gas plants. But that's what they're doing, folks. And if it's up to us, if it's up to them, Denise's kids and others will be, but we're not going to let that happen. We're not going to. And I think our kids are cuter than theirs, by the way. Because they're sincere. All right. So anyway, I'd like to bring up Rich on behalf of Allison McCose, who's sponsoring the repeal bill. Where are you, Rich?
Right here, Steve. Thank you, Steve. I'm Rich Miner from Sparta, New Jersey. I was recently elected to the Sussex County Republican Committee for ED 14 of Sparta. You know, echoing some of what Steve said, my family moved to New Jersey in 1951. At the time, there was no income tax, no sales tax, and property taxes were reasonable, and there was net inward migration, which we were part of at that time. And then in '67, they put in a sales tax, and then a few years later, in the '70s, they put in an income tax, and the property taxes went up, up, up. When I bought my house in Sparta, I paid $2,000 a year in property taxes. I'm now paying about $15,000 a year. Where is the property tax relief? It doesn't exist. It's just a fake, a camouflage to get through their income tax and their sales tax. My Assemblywoman, Allison Littell McHose, asked, she couldn't be here, but she did come to our bus just before we left Sparta, gave us a few words of encouragement and said how important it is to have these counter-protests against the wind people down there flying their kites. She's a strong conservative from the... all right, the plane's going by again. It says, save our beaches. Stop windmills off the Jersey shore. So I'm glad you all gave the plane a good hand. As I was saying, Allison has been a strong conservative. She introduced the bill to get rid of the Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. Yep. It was a 10-state initiative starting in Maryland to Maine, including New Jersey. It did not include Pennsylvania. Why is that? Well, they produce a lot of coal, so they were a little smarter. As a result, businesses started leaving New Jersey for Pennsylvania, including Ocean Spray. 108 years in southern New Jersey, the cranberry capital of the world, and they left us for Pennsylvania, with the final straw being this Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative. Well, it took us a year working with Allison and Steve to get the governor to take us out of this Regional Greenhouse Gas Initiative, also known as RIGGI. But now the Democrats, who control both houses of the legislature, have passed a bill to take that right away from the governor. We have to make sure he vetoes that bill. Anyway, Allison asked me to read a statement on her behalf. So the following is, I'll change the pronouns, from her. She would like to thank Steve Lonegan and Americans for Prosperity for organizing today's event and for being in the forefront when it comes to fighting for taxpayers on issues we all care about. She wants to thank all of you for taking the time to come here. Without you, there is no counter-protest. So you're very important in all these events. You have assembled on this beautiful Jersey shore for this noble cause to counter the protest on something called Global Wind Day. Of course, Global Wind Day is being held in various parts of the United States and around the world, as Steve mentioned, in Greece, Spain, all around the world, to coincide with the United Nations Agenda 21 Summit in Rio de Janeiro next week. The last thing the United States needs, and the taxpayers of New Jersey in particular, is to be suckered in to follow mandates from third world dictators and global socialists who dictate policy to the UN and then have the UN dictate policy to us. Which leads Allison to why she is asked to participate in today's counter-protest. Unfortunately, she couldn't be here. The offshore wind boondoggle law, which is on the books of New Jersey, is the reason she was asked. And yesterday, she introduced legislation A3108, which will repeal the law establishing offshore wind renewable energy efficiency certificate program.
Good.
And Michael Patrick, who spoke earlier, is a co-sponsor of that bill. This law, by its very definition, could cost New Jersey taxpayers upwards of $100 million to fund the building of offshore windmills. Various organizations have made financial reports on this new law. If it's fully implemented, AFP has asked Beacon Hill Institute to look into the law. Beacon Hill said that it'll cost could rise to $4.137 billion. That's billion with a B. To fully do this. The 100 million boondoggle is just the beginning. That just gets our foot in the water. Wow. Electric rates could go up 4.2% in 2017. And all of you, while researching New Jersey's participation in the RIGGI, which you already referred to, or the cap and trade, or we sometimes call it cap and tax, results in higher utility bills, which is costing New Jersey jobs. This will just be more of the same. In addition, has been reported by consultants who studied this proposal that different companies interested in building these offshore windmills, like General Electric, and all of you know Jeff Imnall, the poster child of crony capitalism. You see him with Obama all the time. that under this law, these windmills will be the most expensive offshore windmill project in the world.
New Jersey, right?
The New Jersey project will be the most expensive project in the world. New Jersey simply cannot afford to implement the Offshore Wind Development Act. As one of New Jersey's conservative legislatures, this is why Allison felt compelled to do something. And the action she believed necessary to scrap this boondoggle was to pass A 3108. I hope you will join me in the fight against Agenda 21 and the radical environmentalists and help New Jersey prosper again. Thank you very much.
Thank you. Thank you, Rich Miner. So our message to, you know, folks, some of you questioned, we asked you to come here and you came and you got it. What's the value of that? Well, I'll tell you what the value it is. There's only about 2 places in the United States where there's a counter demonstration to this left-wing assault on our prosperity. That's right here in Asbury Park, New Jersey, and right now we have 200 of our people on the boardwalk in Ocean City, and they got about 20 of theirs flying kites. So, given the ratio, I say we represent the silent majority. And we're not so silent anymore. And you know what? The reason you're here is so that they don't get their message on the front of the New York Times with some nice color picture of some cute kid flying a kite saying save our planet. We got to get our message out. We need to go toe-to-toe every single day on every one of these issues by doing just what you're doing by being here today. But it doesn't stop when we leave today. You need to call talk radio stations and talk about this nonsense. You need to call your legislators. You need to write letters to the newspaper. You need to have an organized plan in each of your groups of how you're going to target this. And we need to call Governor Christie and tell him to veto the $100 million subsidy of our tax dollars for offshore windmills.
Right. Yes.
But you know, they're really in their element. Right now, down in Rio, they're in Rio de Janeiro. They pretty much own the whole city. They're going to be partying their hearts out because they feel like they can win. They can't win. So I have a message from Asbury Park, New Jersey, to the UN delegates in Rio de Janeiro. Go fly a kite. Go fly a kite. All of them. Go fly a kite. 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 Kofi Annan, whoever these people are, they probably have their assistants fly their kites for them. Anyway. So, when you leave here today, Bayshore Tea Party, Americans for Liberty, all of you guys, we need to continue the effort because they do every day. I've seen this for years, folks. The left never stops. They never stop. And we don't need European socialism and Greek and Spain-style economics in the state of New Jersey, and that's the way we're headed. So, did Bill Heller get here? Yes. Oh, there you are, Bill. All right. One more speaker. I want to recognize this gentleman. This is very interesting. Bill Heller leads a website called noturbines.org. He also is up in Union Beach where the government's trying to put a massive windmill right in the middle of their town. He's been leading the effort against that windmill with their environmental coalition. And Bill's an interesting guy. He's actually a songwriter and a musician from the 70s and the 80s and the 90s. He's continuing to write jingles and music today. So it almost... Oh, look who's here. Oh, I'm sorry. We might be upsetting the kite flyers again. See, we don't go away either, guys. So, you know, when you read Bill's resume, you say, oh, this guy's going to be a liberal pro-environmentalist. He's not. He represents one of the many of our silent majority conservative Americans who believe in economic freedom in the United States Constitution. So it's my pleasure to introduce a man who's been a leader in the fight against windmills, Bill Heller.
Yes. Yes, it's a movie called Windfall. I urge you all to order. You can get it Netflix, Amazon.com, whatever. It's about what happens when the wind industry moves into a small town and takes over. Union Beach is just, if you go out into the ocean, you make a left, you go to Sandy Hook, make another left and go into Raritan Bay, you'll come to our town. It's a very idyllic working class town. We don't have a lot of money there. This foreclosure disaster has really hit our town hard. And in the meantime, our sewer plant wants to put in a 38-story industrial wind installation. I don't call them windmills, they are energy factories. The blades would each be about 120 feet long. That's the size of the cell towers in Union Beach. These turbines make more noise than people know, and actually my background in music gives me some knowledge about that noise. It's not the noise that you can hear that hurts people, and people the world over are complaining about sleeplessness, headaches, vertigo, all sorts of health problems that come from wind turbines. How can a machine give you problems? It's because they put out a lot of low-frequency sound and what's called infrasound. Infrasound is air pressure waves below 20 cycles. Your ear can't hear them, but your body feels them. And these things, especially on a highly windy night, put out a lot of infrasound. I've done a spectrum analysis on a recording of wind turbine noise, and you can see in that analysis that the infrasound level and that low frequency sound that would be like somebody driving by your house with a boombox in their car and you just feel it in your walls is 3 to 4 times the sound level, the sound pressure level, as what you would normally hear. The lie, when they try to measure it, is that they measure it using a decibel meter that's what's called A-weighted. A-weighted weights it to what the human ear can better hear, to up to 5,000 cycles. If they instead recorded it and did an analysis of it just straight digital or G or C weighted, they would see how loud the volume is. The people in Ocean Gate, there's a wind turbine there, just down that way. It's 1/30th the power of the one they want planned for Union Beach. They've been fighting the noise there from that thing for 2 years now. Their mayor, the county, the state have all ignored them. But now, and I will read you the mayor's statement, the state finally came and measured, and the borough of Ocean Gate has received correspondence dated March 30th, stating that the health department has recorded noise measurements in response to citizen complaints from several streets in the area of the wind turbine. The poor noise recording on sites indicates significant violations of the New Jersey Administrative Code, Title VII, and so on. Instead of responding well to the town and to these people, the town has hired a lawyer to fight the state and the county on this. In Falmouth, Massachusetts, which has become the poster child for why you shouldn't have industrial wind turbines on shore, the townsfolk, the abutters living close by, have all, for the most part, had complaints. Not everybody's affected, which is interesting, but the majority of them have. What's happened now, the town was hoping to make money from these turbines. Instead, they've been forced to shut them down. One of them down by the state 24 hours, 24/7. The other one partially shut down. They are losing money. The only possible outcomes are to tear them down after spending millions of dollars. Or what often happens when these battles happen, to buy out the homes. And when those homes are bought out, they're bought out at market value. So those sales get recorded as comparables. And what happens when the wind industry tells people, oh, there's no diminishing of property values, for the most part, where this happens, the homes are either unsaleable or the comps show that they were purchased at market value. And they have their studies based on that. However, there's a study by Berkeley Labs that all the wind industry touts as being the basis for claiming there's no diminishing of property values. Ben Hone, the lead author, has since recanted and says that homeowners should be compensated. And all of this is on the website noturbine.com. You can read about our battle. And I would just like to close with reading from 2 personal letters from people who have to suffer under the blades. One is from Ocean Gate, from a woman in Ocean Gate. I'm writing on behalf of some of the residents of Ocean Gate, which holds the distinction of housing the first municipally constructed wind turbine in New Jersey. Not only have our mayor and council sacrificed the quality of life of several blocks of residents, but they are also proceeding with a second turbine despite any evidence that the first is working to save any money. Our turbines are only 50 kilowatts. That's 1/30th the power output of what they want in Union Beach. And not the behemoths that are proposed in Seagirt, which last year defeated one, and Union Beach. But I invite you to visit whenever the turbine is running to gauge the noise level, which some of us live with 24/7. I'm trying to just skip ahead here a little bit, but one of the closest neighbors has been diagnosed with vertigo. Another says his sleep is disturbed not only by the noise, but also by the anticipation of the noise, as it may start and stop several times a night. A new mother has purchased a white noise machine for the nursery. All of this is in the name of green energy. But the most heart-wrenching letter is from a woman in Falmouth who's written many op-eds. She's been battling up there for a long time. Her name is Sue. The last few weeks have been especially difficult for me as we actively prepare for our departure. She's trying to get out of there. Even though we don't have a date or sure place for this yet, it is going to happen soon, and the reality of what our life has come to is sinking in really hard. Basically, I've begun to realize that nothing I do politically or any other way is going to make a bit of difference beyond just giving the opposition team more to attack. I can't take it anymore. I am still innocent of any crime, but have lost my health, the comfort of my home, business, financial security, and future to that godforsaken turbine in the fight. So please take me off all mailing lists and updates. If you are a neighbor with a direct question or request, that's fine. But I think if I'm to live through this, I have to hide until we can just leave. That's the human cost. And, you know, those people down the beach would tell us that we're inconsequential. A head of the Sierra Club in Canada at such a meeting told people who were there protesting because turbines were close to their homes that they were inconsequential. Well, people are not inconsequential, especially in America. Right. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Bill Heller, and thank all of you for coming to Asbury Park Beach today. I know it's a lot of work in defending our freedom.
Our pleasure.
But I can't help but think of the many Americans who've hit other beaches, from Tripoli to Normandy to Omaha to Guadalcanal, along Vietnam and Korea and others, in the defense of liberty and freedom.
Right. Thank you.
So that's nothing, right? That liberty and that freedom is under attack today by a bunch of global diplomats partying in Rio de Janeiro and remotely controlling these global wind day events around the west of the world. This is an assault on our liberty too, folks. It really is. It's an assault on our liberty. The folks down the beach with their kites, they're naive and they're misguided, and we need to teach them. They will understand. It will dawn on them one day. I just hope it's not too late. So again, thank you for being here. Our buzzes who are on buzz are going to leave back at 3 o'clock. So we have some time to have some fun. And again, I want to thank our Tea Party leaders from Bayshore, Americans for Liberty, East Bergen, North Jersey, West Jersey, South Jersey, East Coast, West Coast. We're all in this together, folks. God bless you. Thank you for coming. Thanks.